So for my Perspectives project, the title is The Color of Music. Just a topic overview of my research. I focused on African American musicians from the early to mid 1900s, and keep in mind segregation and Jim Crow laws were very much still in effect until 1964, and that really, all of those race issues really spilled into the music industry and how African American artists were treated. So I chose to focus on four very influential African American artists: Louis Armstrong, Ella Fitzgerald, Ray Charles, Aretha Franklin, and what they and others like them overcame to pave the way and shape the music industry. All throughout my paper and project was just the theme of resilience and how these artists really overcame so much to share their gift of music with the world. So my research explores how African American artists and musicians pushed through racial stigma, established successful careers, and forever changed and challenged the music industry. So two notable artists to start off with are Big Bill Broonzy and Mamie Smith. Bill Broonzy was a Black blues musician whose records became known as race records, and they were predominantly for Black audiences. There were many hit African American artists that the white audiences didn't even know about. And he and many others like him recorded music from 1920 to 1940. Mamie Smith was a pioneer, actually, in bringing race records to all audiences. Her hit record, Crazy Blues, sold 100,000 copies, and label companies from all over rushed to get on the race records trend. And that's kind of when race records turned into rhythm and blues. However, Black artists were rarely ever paid their rightful royalties and were deprived of fame and even credit for their work. So there were so many inequities within the music industry. So I focused on Louis Armstrong. He was born in 1901 in a poor neighborhood in New Orleans. He actually bought his first cornet after he dropped out of school in 5th grade to work, and he began his musical career by playing on Mississippi riverboats. He started his own band and making records with his friend Oliver in 1923, and his style included improvised solos and expressive vocals that transformed the genre of jazz. He was very influential in the civil rights movement, as well as his musical abilities in the way he shaped jazz music, and really paved the way for African American artists that came after him. Ella Fitzgerald was born in New York in 1917. She received her music education at the public school there, and after doing several venues on her own, she joined Chick Webb's band, where she would make several hits, and then began her solo career in 1945, already as an established and respected musician. Her bold and beautiful voice gave her the title First Lady of Song, and she's an iconic African American jazz vocalist. Again, super influential in the civil rights movement and paving the way for artists to come after her. Ray Charles is well known. He's born in Georgia in 1930. He grew up poor, learned piano, clarinet, and saxophone at the Florida State School for the Deaf and Blind. He actually was blind by the time he was 7 years old. He started a trio with two of his friends in Seattle, and his talent and musical abilities really just blew people away, and everything that he was able to overcome. He was a very independent musician, and he became known as the blind singing sensation. And he wasn't really defined by one genre or style. There's a lot of documentaries on Ray Charles, and he could do anything. He could imitate any artist. He could make any style just come to life. So he was really influential in overcoming a disability, as well as so many other losses, and as well as race issues in his life. Aretha Franklin was born in Tennessee in 1942. Her first album was The Gospel Sound of Aretha Franklin, which she actually recorded in her father's Baptist church. She signed with Columbia Records after she went on tour with her father and produced many albums and performed in many concerts. But she really wanted to stay true to her background as a soul singer, so she signed with Atlantic Records, which offered more creativity and freedom, and she is known as the Queen of Soul. So as a conclusion, African Americans and the musical culture that they brought to the United States is perhaps the most important influence on the 20th century music, and it will continue to evolve not just through time, but through people willing to risk everything to promote social change and justice through a sound that can be appreciated by all. Thanks for listening, guys.